Most Filipinos can name the Manila Trench. Some know about the Cotabato Trench after the 1976 tsunami. A few have heard of the East Luzon Trench. But almost no one talks about the Sulu Trench. And that's a problem, because 3 million people live directly in its impact zone. The Sulu Trench runs through the Sulu Sea, between southwestern Mindanao and Borneo. It's part of a complex fault system that threatens Zamboanga, Basilan, the entire Sulu archipelago, Tawi-Tawi, and even parts of Malaysian Borneo. Unlike other Philippine trenches that threaten single coastlines, the Sulu Trench sits beneath an inland sea. When it ruptures, tsunami waves will have nowhere to go but straight into the islands surrounding it. This is the forgotten threat in the southwestern Philippines. Let's start with geography. The Sulu Sea is an inland sea between Mindanao, Palawan, and Borneo. It's about 260 miles long and 220 miles wide, roughly the size of the state of South Dakota. The Sulu Sea isn't just a flat ocean basin. It's geologically complex. The seafloor contains multiple fault lines, volcanic features, and deep trenches. The Sulu Trench specifically runs through the southern part of the Sulu Sea, trending southwest from near Zamboanga toward the Celebes Sea. At its deepest, it reaches about 15,000 feet. Not as deep as the Philippine Trench or Mariana Trench, but still significant. But here's what makes the Sulu Trench unique. It's not a simple subduction zone like Manila or Cotabato. It's part of a broader tectonic boundary where multiple plates and microplates interact. The Sulu Sea sits on the Sulu Plate, a small tectonic fragment caught between the Eurasian Plate, the Philippine Sea Plate, and the Sunda Plate. All three are pushing against each other, and the Sulu region is caught in the middle. This creates what geologists call a complex tectonic setting. Multiple fault lines, multiple types of plate boundaries, and unpredictable seismic behavior. The result? The Sulu region faces a triple threat. First threat, earthquakes from the trench itself. Like other subduction zones, the Sulu Trench produces earthquakes when the plates slip. These can be magnitude 6.0, 7.0, or higher. Zamboanga City, with over 1 million people in the metro area, sits less than 100 miles from the trench. When a major earthquake strikes, the city will experience severe shaking, building collapses, and infrastructure damage. But Zamboanga isn't the only city at risk. Basilan, Jolo, and dozens of smaller towns across the Sulu archipelago sit directly above or near the fault system. Second threat, tsunamis. When an earthquake occurs beneath the Sulu Sea, it doesn't just shake the ground, it displaces water. And because the Sulu Sea is relatively shallow and enclosed by islands on all sides, the tsunami waves have limited space to dissipate energy. Think of it like shaking water in a bathtub. The waves bounce off the sides, amplifying in certain areas. A tsunami in the Sulu Sea would hit multiple coastlines almost simultaneously: southwestern Mindanao, the Sulu Islands, Tawi-Tawi, Palawan's southern tip, even northern Borneo. The 1976 Moro Gulf tsunami, which primarily affected the Cotabato region, also sent waves into the Sulu Sea. Parts of Sulu and Tawi-Tawi experienced flooding and casualties, though the death toll wasn't as high as in the Moro Gulf area. But the Sulu Trench is capable of generating its own tsunamis, potentially just as deadly. Third threat, volcanic activity. The Sulu region contains active and dormant volcanoes. The Sulu volcanic arc runs through the area created by the same tectonic forces that form the trench. When a major earthquake occurs, it can trigger volcanic eruptions. Lava, ash, and pyroclastic flows would add to the disaster. And if a submarine volcano erupts underwater, it can generate additional tsunamis. So the Sulu Trench isn't just one threat. It's 3 overlapping disasters waiting to happen. Historically, the Sulu region has experienced significant earthquakes, though records are incomplete. The 1897 earthquake near Sulu was estimated at magnitude 7.0 or higher. It caused damage across the region and likely generated a small tsunami, though detailed records from that era are sparse. The 1976 Moro Gulf earthquake, magnitude 8.1, originated from the Cotabato Trench but affected the entire southwestern Philippines, including Sulu. The tsunami killed 8,000 people total, with several hundred deaths in the Sulu region. More recently, smaller earthquakes, magnitude 5.0 to 6.5, have struck the Sulu Sea area, causing localized damage and reminding residents that the fault system is active. But the last major rupture of the Sulu Trench itself was decades ago, and that means pressure is building. Here's what makes the Sulu Trench especially dangerous: limited preparedness. Unlike Metro Manila, which has earthquake drills, building codes, and disaster response infrastructure, the Sulu region is underdeveloped. Poverty rates are high. Infrastructure is minimal. Many communities are accessible only by boat. Zamboanga City has some disaster preparedness, but it's not at the level of larger cities. The Sulu archipelago, Basilan, Jolo, Tawi-Tawi, has even less. PHIVOLCS monitors seismic activity in the region, but resources are limited. Tsunami warning systems exist, but coverage is incomplete. Many remote islands wouldn't receive warnings in time. And there's another complication: the security situation. Parts of the Sulu region have been conflict zones for decades. Armed groups, piracy, and insurgency make disaster response difficult. Evacuations can be complicated by security concerns. Aid delivery can be delayed. When a major earthquake and tsunami strike, the southwestern Philippines will face a disaster compounded by poverty, geography, and conflict. There's also a maritime angle that's often overlooked. The Sulu Sea is a major shipping route. Ferries carry passengers between islands daily. Cargo ships transit the region. Fishing boats operate throughout the sea. If a major earthquake strikes during peak maritime traffic, thousands of people could be at sea when the tsunami hits. Ferries could capsize. Ships could be driven into coastlines. Ports could be destroyed. The death toll wouldn't just be on land, it would include everyone at sea. Computer models from PHIVOLCS and international research teams have simulated earthquake scenarios for the Sulu Trench. A magnitude 7.5 earthquake could generate tsunami waves 3 to 10 meters high, roughly 10 to 30 feet, hitting coastlines within 10 to 20 minutes. There wouldn't be much time to evacuate. The waves would hit all sides of the Sulu Sea nearly simultaneously: Zamboanga, Basilan, Jolo, Tawi-Tawi, southern Palawan, northern Borneo, all affected at once. PHIVOLCS estimates that a major Sulu Trench earthquake could affect up to 3 million people across the southwestern Philippines and northern Malaysia. So why don't more people know about the Sulu Trench? Partly because it's remote. The Sulu region is far from Manila. Media coverage is limited. National attention focuses on Luzon and Metro Manila, partly because records are incomplete. The Sulu region doesn't have the same historical documentation as other parts of the Philippines. Earthquakes and tsunamis might have occurred in the past that were never properly recorded. And partly because of competing priorities. The Sulu region faces poverty, conflict, and underdevelopment. Earthquake preparedness isn't always the top concern when communities are dealing with more immediate threats. But the geology doesn't care about politics or economics. The Sulu Trench is there, it's active, and eventually it will rupture. The question isn't if, it's when. And when it does, the southwestern Philippines will face a disaster most of the country isn't prepared for. The Sulu Trench is the forgotten threat. It doesn't get the attention of Manila or Cotabato. It doesn't appear in headlines or disaster preparedness campaigns. But 3 million people live in its impact zone: Zamboanga, the Sulu archipelago, Tawi-Tawi, Basilan. All of them sit above or near a fault system capable of magnitude 7.0 plus earthquakes and devastating tsunamis. The trench is part of a complex tectonic boundary where multiple plates collide. It's connected to the Cotabato system, creating overlapping threat zones. And it sits beneath an inland sea where tsunami waves have nowhere to dissipate. Triple threat: earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic activity, and limited preparedness. Poor infrastructure, incomplete warning systems, security complications. When the Sulu Trench strikes, it won't just be another earthquake. It will be a regional catastrophe affecting millions, many of whom have no idea the threat even exists. What should the southwestern Philippines do to prepare? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more videos about deep-sea threats in the Philippines, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because the deadliest disasters are the ones we forget to prepare for.